So you have been asking yourself, why am I the way I am? Why do I do things the way I do things? That is very valid to ask. And I love that you're asking these questions because it shows that you are not okay with the version of you currently. You know you can do better. You know you can change. You know that there is something that if you get to the root of it, you can understand it and make a pivot. So that's a very, very good sign. But I want to let you know, sorry guys, I want to let you know that this happens when you have started identifying patterns of behavior that no longer serve you, or patterns of behavior that lead you down into self sabotage, or patterns of behavior that is not where you want to be. You have identified it and you are realizing that these patterns of behavior are unconsciously done. It's not something that you consciously choose. It's something that maybe after it happens, then you realize, why did I just do that? And leading to the question, why am I the way I am? The thing is, everybody has that, including myself speaking to you. We have unconscious patterns that we replay in our head and we act out not knowing that that is not actually us, but series of patterns that we have built over the years to survive. Let's take it back a notch. So in your maybe early teens or early childhood, the environment you grew up in was not conducive for you to be yourself authentically. Maybe you had parents that were very abusive. And let me tell Nigerian people here, if you're listening, yes, your parents were abusive. That beating was not okay. Going back to because some people actually say, oh, they were disciplining me. No, it was abuse. We just cover it up. Tell yourself the truth. Anyways, going back to what I was saying, maybe you grew up in an environment that was not conducive, or you saw things in the places you grew up in and you mimicked those behaviors. Maybe shouting to be heard because that was the way that you saw it happen in your family. Or if you were in an abusive home, where you realized being your authentic self, speaking up was not bringing you the right results, rather, it was bringing you lots of beatings and punishment, should I say. And so you started adapting. You started realizing I have to adapt. If I have to function in this environment, I need to adapt because you were a child. And that's what your child brain does. Now, that is your childhood. You learnt that pattern. But you know what solidified it again? Because maybe you learnt that pattern as a child, which could have been dropped when growing up. But those kind of things do not get dropped because what you see is what you attract. What you see and feel like it is the norm. If you don't consciously work on yourself, consciously heal yourself, you attract those things to you. So when you go into your 20s and your 30s, even sometimes 40s, you see yourself attracting the same abuse patterns, the same people that neglect your voice. And so you need to actually shout to be heard or do some very elaborate character for you to be heard because you were never heard when you were a child. What does that tell your brain? Oh, this is really a thing. Maybe in childhood, it was like, oh, that was when I was a child. And maybe if you're seeing that the environment around you in your 20s, 30s is not reflecting that back to you, then you could have dropped it. But you go around seeing the same behaviors from your childhood being mimicked in your 20s and your 30s by the people around you, your brain kicks in that safety and says, this is a thing. We need to protect ourselves. And that is where you solidify the personality and the character of the patterns of behavior you're trying to correct, that is bringing up the question, why am I the way I am? But I want to say something, and I want to say it from a spiritual lens. When we came here, or when we are all bettered, we're bettered from pure consciousness. That's the consciousness of God, the light and the spark of God within us. You're not tainted. There is nothing. You learned those behaviors. Everything that makes up who you are currently is a learned behavior. You learned it from your parents, you learned it from your peers, you learned it from society around you. So, what that tells me is that can be unlearned, because that is not the innate you. That is not the most authentic you. Those are learned behaviors that you actually learn to survive the environment you found yourself. However, as you grow older, we are meant to keep asking this question: who am I now? What is this me into? What do I like? What are some of my qualities? What should I work on healing? What are some of my trauma response? What are some of my survival instincts? When you start asking this question, it forces you to identify patterns of behaviors that you do unconsciously. Like, maybe you are just a naturally, no, I don't want to say naturally, because you were not born with that. You're a defensive person. Before anybody says anything, you feel attacked and you come up with a defense mechanism. And you're not doing it because that is something you thought of. That has been you all along. Maybe in your childhood, or something happened to you in your 20s, and that forced you to go into this character of self defense, to always be defensive. But if you do not get to the root of why am I acting this way, you will only treat the symptoms and not understand where it stems from, for you to now get it through you that you are not in that situation. And even if you're in that situation currently in your adulthood, there is something that you can do about it. You can make a decision. You can make a decision to leave. You can make a decision to no longer tolerate that behavior, or whatever situation that you're in. You can pull yourself out. As a kid, you couldn't leave. You couldn't pack your bags and decide, I'm going to leave by myself. That wasn't possible. But as an adult, you can make a choice. So, what I'm saying in essence is, the question, why am I the way I am, cannot be answered from just looking at your lens right now. You have to take that lens all the way back to your childhood. Understand what took your voice, what made you defensive. Were you bullied as a kid that brought up that defensive nature? And then you saw that pattern repeat in adulthood. And then it's solidified in your brain as, this is something I need to be for me to survive in this world. Those are the things that you need to unpack gently, because there is no need looking at yourself, I'm flawed, I'm not good enough, it doesn't help anything. We all are flawed. Me talking to you here is flawed. I have my own childhood experience, but what I've done is look at it, no matter how painful, go back to it, understand it, check myself. Am I safe enough to let this pattern go? Am I okay to stand in my sovereignty and decide that this no longer serves me, and then move into something else? Those are the things that you need to ask yourself, because we are all flawed. Every one of us are all flawed. I know somebody is going to be like, no, not me, I'm not flawed. We are all flawed. We might have gotten the love we need from our parents and the gentleness and all that, but we come into society, and society is not, should I say, so yes, society can be chaotic, and that chaos leads us into a survival mode, a pattern that helps us survive whatever society. Some of us grew up in, let's say, third world countries, and then we had to survive. Then coming here, we're now dealing with another different lens of survival. So those are the things that you have to start understanding about yourself and realizing which one is no longer serving me, which one have I outgrown, and drop it, and then move to the next thing. But if you don't do that and you decide that you are only just going to ask the question, why am I the way I am now? My dear, it is only you that can answer that question. I cannot answer it for you. But what I can tell you is you just need to identify your patterns, because if you identify your patterns, you observe yourself. You become an observer of that patterns. Let's say something happens and you want to jump into defense mode. You're going to ask yourself, you're going to take a second and ask yourself, does this warrant defensiveness, or is this question a question that is directed at me that needs to be asked? You can start framing things in a better way that moves you from the survivor response into having a 5 seconds, 10 seconds check with yourself before you do the thing that was unconsciously done in the past. So that's another way. Another thing I also want to encourage all of us is we need to heal our nervous system. Our nervous system holds a lot of codes. And yes, one is identifying the patterns, going to the root of it. But if you have a chaotic nervous system, no matter if you understand your patterns and try to heal, if you don't signal to your nervous system that we are here, we're safe, we're okay, you don't need to protect me, you don't need to put me in this fight or flight, freeze response mode, we are good, then you will continue repeating the same things. Sometimes this nervous system healing is sitting with yourself in meditation, doing breath work. The breath of life enables you to calm anxieties, to calm any chaoticness, because we are all energy. Our body is energy, and this energy is moving fast. But breath helps calm it and keep it in balance. And that is what signals to your nervous system, which then signals to your brain, we are safe. And now create a neural pathway that signals that safety is our default. If you don't do these things, it's work. But do you want to remain the same, or do you want to change? Because everything that you are asking for, everything you're trying to manifest, everything you're trying to pull into the physical world from the spiritual realm, it happens through somebody. It doesn't fall from the skies. It happens through your understanding, your belief system, your perspective, how you see the world, how you're creating the things you're creating. And so if you don't go back to the past, you will remain the same. But if you can go back to the past and speak to yourself and heal your nervous system and understand the past, let it go or come into acceptance of it, you will remain the same. You will keep asking, why am I the way I am? The answer to that question lies with you. It lies in the work you can do to understand you. Everything starts with identity. Everything starts with you. You are an innate being. You are a highly spiritual being. You are not just this body. There is an energy, a force, a God force flowing through you that creates. And so, if you don't understand this God force, if you don't understand this self, this you will continue creating from a low vibrational state, an unhealed state, a state that was in survival or is in survival, rather than creating from a place where you know you are a sovereign being, you are okay, you are safe, I understand myself. I know me. I know when I'm down. What is the cause? How do I course correct? I know when things are chaotic around me is because my innate being is chaotic. And you bring presence, you come back to presence and calm yourself, because if you do the inner work, it's going to reflect in the outer. So, my reminder to you today, you were right in asking the question, and we all need to ask that same question. We all have unconscious patterns that we keep displaying. If you do not become an observer of those patterns, you will keep self sabotaging. You will keep being in doubt, in fear. You will not trust yourself. There are so many outcomes from not doing the inner work, doing the work of knowing you, of understanding you. It is you. It should be the easiest thing to do. Go back and know you. Go back and understand your roots. How were you raised? Who told you what? Why is it okay for you to accept that? These are the things I offer you in coaching. If you're interested, please go to my website and book, and let's have one free call. After the free call, then you can decide if we work together for us to continue our journey in our coaching session. But I'm telling you that if you do the work, your life is going to change. And moreover, you're going to leave it as a gift for your family. Some people don't know this. Some people don't know this is the work they need to do. Some people have been praying, fasting, waiting on God. But you cannot hold the blessing because you're chaotic, because you cannot be grounded in yourself to receive these blessings. This is the work you need to do. Be the observer of yourself. Know thyself. Understand you. Work on yourself. And in doing that, when you ask this question, why am I the way I am? You can answer it from childhood. This happened to me. This happened to me. At 20 years, this happened to me. And you can start healing and releasing those trauma and those energy patterns that has guided your life and forced you into unconscious acting. And then you come into consciously acting from your God essence. That is what I'm giving to you today. If this interested you and resonated with you, then stick around. I go into the self, understanding us, healing, working on yourself, because it's one thing to claim the blessings, to manifest, to do all that. But some people are stuck not receiving their manifestations, their prayers, and not elevating to that next level because of unconscious patterns, the lack of awareness in self. And that's what I'm going to help you do if you stick around. Catch you on the next one.